SO1 Joshua Vriens. Please stand next to the witness stand. Turn to face me. Sir. Raise your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony you are about to give in the case now in hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Yes, sir. Please have a seat. Would you introduce yourself to the members?
Yes, sir. My name is SO1 Joshua David Vriens.
How do you spell your last name?
It is Victor Romeo India Echo November Sierra.
Where are you currently stationed?
NAB Coronado at Bud's Training Command.
What do you do there?
I'm a second phase diving instructor.
Can you tell the members a little bit about your command history?
Yes, sir. I attended Bud's Class 296, went through SQT with the same class, 296, graduated in November of 2013, where I checked into SEAL Team 7. I did 2 deployments there, and then went to Naval Special Warfare Basic Training Command, where I've been there for about a year and a half, teaching diving.
Where were your 2 deployments?
The first one was to the Cree in United Arab Emirates. The second one was to Mosul, Iraq.
Are you testifying under a grant of immunity today?
Yes, sir, I am.
Do you know Chief Gallagher?
Yes, sir, I do.
How do you know him?
He was my platoon chief and neighbor.
Where was he your platoon chief?
He was my platoon chief in this last deployment to Iraq at SEAL Team 7.
Is he here today?
Yes, sir, he's here.
Can you point him out?
He's in the defendant's desk.
Your Honor, the witness has identified the accused. Did you know anything about Chief Gallagher before you met him?
I did, yes, sir.
So how did you feel about going to work for Chief Gallagher?
Originally, sir,
When you went to work for Chief Gallagher, how did you feel about that?
I was excited, very excited. He had a great reputation.
Let's talk about your deployment to Mosul, Iraq. When was that?
That was February of 2017 until September 2017.
While there, what was your chain of command?
My chain of command was, now Chief Miller was my LPO. My officer in charge was Lieutenant Portier. My chief was Chief Gallagher. And then my troop chief, but he was not under, I was not under his command anymore, was Lieutenant Commander Bryce. Directly under me, or directly over me, was Lieutenant Colonel Christians of the MARSOC unit we were working with. And then later on that deployment would be Lieutenant Colonel Butler.
So what was your role with Alpha Platoon in Iraq?
My collateral was ordnance, and my tactical specialty was sniper and lead nav.
What was Chief Gallagher's role during that deployment?
Chief Gallagher was a platoon chief, TAC lead.
Do you recall if ever an incident involving an ISIS individual being brought to a location?
Yes, sir, I do.
What do you know about that?
Sir, there were 2 incidences of that.
Let me ask you about an injured person.
Yes, sir.
Were you there that day?
No, sir, I wasn't.
Where were you when that happened?
I was back at the forward house. This was our turnover day. We had 2 elements. One would always be at the forward house. One would be either back at the Shaykhon or Mosul Dam house. We would go usually a week on, week off, and on this day was our turnover day. The other element, the Shaykhon house, had been going out operating. We were going to show up early before they got back so we could get our gear ready to go out for the next day. So this was our turnover time.
So were you there when when the rest of the platoon that had been in the field that day returned back?
Yes, sir. I was at the forward house when they came back.
Were you present at any sort of meeting where the incidents of the day were discussed?
Yes, sir, I was.
Did Chief Gallagher ever talk to you about that day?
Yes, sir, he did.
Tell us about it.
Yes, sir. Later in the day, must have been possibly 3 hours after the element got back, I went into the talk. It was myself, SO1 Stoner, and Lieutenant Portier in the talk at the time. Lieutenant Portier was on a computer typing, and SO1 Stoner was on somebody's personal laptop. I believe it was possibly TC Burns, and he was looking at some pictures. I went over behind him, and I saw the picture.
What did you see a picture of?
It was of a middle teen, mid-teens teenager with dark hair, dark skin, a black top, brown pants, and he was looked like he was concussed. He was being held up by his shoulders by 2 ERD, our partner force, and he wasn't supporting his own weight, but he looked like he had a 1,000-yard stare, and there was a ERD Humvee in the background.
All right, so you saw that picture in the talk. What happened next?
I only saw the picture for about 2 or 3 seconds, and at that moment, Chief Gallagher entered the room, and SO1 Stoner turned to him and said, "Oh, is this the guy?" And Chief Gallagher said, "Yes." I stabbed him in the side, then grabbed his hair and looked him in the eyes and stabbed him in the neck. And I just kind of looked at him. He's like, "Yeah, I gave him some kind of drug." And I said, "What's that drug do?" And he said, "Oh, it makes him more sensitive to their feelings, or sensitive to pain, one or the other."
Do you recall any incidents involving the shooting of a child civilian?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell us what you recall?
Yes, sir. Towards the end of deployment, it was May, June timeframe, we were constantly going to the same 2 shooting positions. We called them towers. They were on the east side of the river. I was in the southern tower every time. Chief Gallagher went to the northern tower. I set up in a shooting position that looked somewhat northwest across the river under a bridge.
Now, give me a second here. I want to show you Prosecution Exhibit 11. Now, you got a screen right next to you. If you can pull that kind of in front there.
Kermit, would you go up and help him with the screen?
How's that?
Hey, Kermit,
That's good, sir.
the defense table needs to be able to see the witness, so you're going to have to reposition it back where it was, way over to the side. There you go.
There we go.
Thank
Of
you.
course.
All right. Can you see Prosecution Exhibit 11?
Yes, sir.
Prosecution Exhibit 11, limited response from the member. What are we looking at here?
Sir, this is on the left side of the screen, you have what we refer to as a carnival. It was an old broken down carnival. On the right side of your screen, you have the bridge. If you follow the bridge down to the bottom, you'll see a rectangle slab of concrete that's also blown up. That has an explosion just beneath it, a crater. To the left of that, you'll see two kind of rubble buildings. Those are the towers.
All right, so what would you do at the towers?
Towers it was a sniper's position, 100% snipers and rocket teams. And we had a field, an area that we found that was where ISIS would use to go on R&R, get water, and to transport arms and fighters.
Where was that location?
There were several locations. One was underneath this bridge.
If you could just describe it to us by what you're looking at.
Yes, sir. On the bridge, at the top of your screen, you'll see where the bridge meets the land. Just up and to the left of that is a road that goes under the bridge. You can't see it on this imagery, but there's that upper road and a smaller footpath beneath it. And that was the pathway that ISIS fighters would use along with civilians. And then behind that, on the right side of that bridge, it was a like right-hand turn. You can kind of see that road. It looks like it goes underneath the bridge. That was also where they would run if you're not using cardinal directions, but if you're using right and left fields, you'll see that they came from the right and then would go up, parallel with the bridge. Those were the two fields of fire in that specific section.
So you were there in which tower?
I was in the southern tower, sir.
And that's the one to the bottom left?
The bottom left, yes, sir.
And the other one is the northern tower?
We call it the northern tower, yes, sir.
All right. So on the day of this incident, you said you were in the southern tower. Who else was with you?
It was Lieutenant Portier, Corey Scott, SO1 Scott, SO1 Mullen, Geo, and SO1 Arrington.
Who's Geo?
Geo was the Marine who was attached to us for electronic warfare.
And did I ask you with the other tower?
No, sir, you didn't.
Apologize. Who was in the other tower?
The other tower was Chief Gallagher, TC Byrne, SO1 Shoemake, and I believe SO1 Stoner.
All right. What did you see that day?
So we'd been there a few times. This one wasn't the first time. And Chief Gallagher and I had talked about our fields of fire just like we do each day after we got back. I heard some shooting in that tower, and I either radioed over or I just, from the other day, I knew that he was looking under the bridge. I don't recall which one, but for some reason I went and looked under the bridge. I was set up in a blown up stairwell that looked under the bridge, and so for some reason I looked under the bridge. It was either, I know I heard shots, but I can't remember if I radioed over, hey, Chief Gallagher, what are you shooting at or not, or if I just looked at it. I looked under the bridge, and as soon as I looked under the bridge, on the left side of my field of fire, there's a building right there. It's that first building on the left as the bridge meets the riverbank. There's a building on your left right there. That was kind of my left flank, my field of fire. And right as I focused and got my scope focused on that position, there were 4 young girls. Judging by their gait layers, 12 to 14 years old maybe. 3 of them had dark colored dresses. I know one of those dark colored dresses were dark blue. They all were wearing flower print hijabs, and they all had their faces showing. one of those girls of the four had a gray dress on, and she also had a flower print hijab. As soon as I looked at those four girls, I saw the girl in the gray dress clutch her stomach and fall down on her knee, on her right knee. And as soon as she did that, two of the girls ran away, and the girl in the dark blue dress kind of put her hands on her and looked up straight at our position. And what happened next was the girl in the gray dress kind of went on all fours, and the girl in the blue dress dragged her. And they were on the lower footpath. So they dragged her. The two girls that ran immediately, they ran over the berm away from our position. And then the girl that was crawling and being pulled along by the girl in the blue dress, she started crawling up the berm. She fell again on the ground on her belly. And then the girl in the blue dress was able to run over the berm, grab her arms and her shoulders, and then pull her and drag her over the berm.
So, looking at the exhibit, if she's dragging her over the berm, which direction would that be? If you're in the towers and the berm is, you described, towards the top of the picture, underneath the bridge where the water touched on the opposite side of the river, is that correct?
Sir, can you say that again?
Well, I'll tell you what, how about I'm going to ask you to stand up and point
Yes, sir.
to where the berm is.
Yes, sir. So this is the upper road right here where it looked like a vehicle path. It was big enough for a vehicle path. And right here there was a footpath. And that berm was between the footpath and the vehicle path. And they were shot right around here on this footpath. And by the time they crawled, from my vantage point, it looked like they crawled under the bridge, which I had a small field of fire once they got under the bridge, or viewpoint. And that's when they crawled in this direction, I guess, up and to the right. And they disappeared in this area right at the end of the bridge.
Which would be to the right side of the bridge on the photograph?
Yes, sir, to the right side of the bridge.
All this happening on the opposing side of the river.
Yes, sir.
So farther towards
Lieutenant
the top.
Petrzik, are you going to summarize what the witness indicated on the exhibit for the record, please?
The witness indicated that the.
Lieutenant Petrzik, I need to keep, I'm sorry, the way this courtroom's mic'd, I need to keep you close to the microphone.
Yes, sir.
Is the witness done pointing at the map? Can he return to his seat?
Yes.
I think I called you Lieutenant. I really apologize, Commander Petrzik. All right, would you then summarize what he just indicated on the map?
All right. So the witness identified the footpath that is visible in the picture on the opposing side of the river towards the top of the picture, about halfway up the bridge on the left-hand side, and that he could see a small area of fire directly under the bridge, and then that the girls traveled in the direction towards the upper right, and he motioned about 45-degree angle with his hand towards the top corner of the picture. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Where was the enemy that day?
The enemy was all over that upper riverbank, that was western Mosul. So if cardinal directions, that bridge runs east to west. That's western Mosul, old Mosul. The enemy was all over there. If you see where the screen is cut off on the right-hand side, that's about where the flot was, the forward line of troops. So anything on that western side was all bad. And that side that we were on, that had been cleared cleared in October, around October 2017. December 2017 was the end of the clearance of eastern Mosul.
Did you see what happened to the girl that was shot?
No, sir, not after she got over the berm.
You described what these girls were wearing. What were they carrying?
I could not see anything in their hands.
Did you have any indication as to their target status?
As far as if they were targets or if they were deemed a threat, sir?
Well, you're a sniper. Did you deem them a threat?
No, sir, I did not deem them a threat.
prior to seeing the injured girl, had you heard any shots from either your tower or the north tower?
Yes, sir.
Where?
I heard them from the north tower, sir.
Had you noticed any ISIS near the girls?
Not at that time, sir.
Were you able to discern from which direction she was shot?
After reviewing in my mind what happened, yes, it was apparent to me that the shot came from our direction.
Was it your direction cleared?
Yes, sir, it was.
Did you report this to anyone?
Sir, I reported it to Lieutenant Portier.
What was your report?
Yes, sir. At first, which was immediately after the girl was shot, I turned to Lieutenant Portier and I said, we go by first names. I said, hey, Jake, I think ISIS is shooting civilians again. I just saw them shoot a little girl.
Did you see ISIS shoot a little girl?
No, sir, I did not.
Do you know SO1 Scott?
Yes, sir, I do.
Did he ever say anything to you that it was him that killed the
Objection.
prisoner?
Hearsay.
Response?
There will be no statement, sir.
All right, again, the absence of response. Objection overruled.
Did he ever say that he killed the injured ISIS fighter?
Objection.
Basis?
Hearsay.
All right, overruled.
Whether he did or he didn't, even silence, it still calls for hearsay.
All right, overruled.
You can answer the question.
No, sir, he did not ever say that he killed the ISIS fighter to me.
Was he a part of text message groups with people that were reporting the incidents that were here over today?
Yes, sir, he was.
Did he ever do anything that would affect you reporting to NCIS?
Yes, sir, he encouraged me to report it.
Those are all my questions, Your Honor.
Cross?
Yes, please. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Hey, Officer Vriens, you're happy to be here today, aren't you?
No, sir.
You couldn't wait to testify, right?
Because I'm doing the right thing, I am happy to be here, but I would never have wanted to be in this position.
Okay, but that wasn't my question. I just asked if you couldn't wait to testify.
Under the current conditions, yes.
And you told Special Agent Marpensky you couldn't wait to testify, is that correct?
I would imagine it is.
Okay, you texted him, told him that we're behind you, can't wait to testify, actually, right?
I would assume that I did say that. Yes, sir.
Told the member of the media that you were looking forward to telling your story in the stand?
You'll have to be more specific, sir.
Have you spoken to any members of the media?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How many?
Just one, sir, I believe.
Who?
Mr. Dyer from the Union Tribune.
Okay. Did you get clearance from Naval Special Warfare Group 1 before speaking with the media about this case?
No, sir.
Let's jump right into this incident. You say that you saw a little girl get shot in the stomach, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and a lot of the details you're giving us here today is, as you said, after reviewing it in your mind, right?
Yes, sir.
You gave a statement to NCIS a year and a half ago, right?
It'd be about a year and a half ago, yes, sir.
Okay. Is your memory more clear today, or was it more clear a year and a half ago?
It was definitely more clear a year and a half ago, sir.
Okay. And you discussed how you saw this little girl going along, getting shot in the stomach, clutching herself, falling to one knee, correct?
Yes, sir.
And then her friend helped her up, and they ran over the berm, right?
Summary, yes, sir.
Okay. How far away were you?
It was approximately 850, 900 meters.
Okay. When she clutched her stomach and fell to one knee, you said to Lieutenant Portier that it looked like ISIS shot her, correct?
Yes, sir.
You didn't say Eddie shot her, right?
No, sir.
Okay. All the snipers on this team, they carry Mark 13 rifles, is that correct?
That's one of our weapons, yes, sir.
Okay. At that range, the Mark 13 would be the appropriate weapon to use, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Mark 13 is a 300 Win Mag round, right?
Yes, sir. 300 Win Mag.
For demonstrative purposes. Is this a 300 Win Mag round?
Yes, sir. That's 300 Win Mag.
So it's your testimony that a young girl got shot in the stomach with a 300 Win Mag round, clutched her stomach and just fell to one knee. She didn't get punched back 10 feet.
Absolutely not, sir.
Didn't get blown apart.
Absolutely not, sir.
You've shot people with 300 Win Mag before, right?
Yes, sir.
Usually does some damage, doesn't it?
It would be fatal if you had a good shot placement, but at 900 meters, you're gonna have to place your shots well.
Right. Here you said she was shot right in the stomach.
Yes, sir. She was shot in her stomach.
Now, you're a qualified sniper, right?
Yes, sir.
In that job, you see other snipers shooting, right?
Yes, sir.
Do you usually see vapor trails coming off of other snipers?
If I was spotting for that sniper, I would see a vapor trail. Not every day, but that's trace, and we are trained to see trace.
And that's if you're right next to or right behind the other sniper, right?
More often than not, yes, sir, it would be spotting for him, shooter
Okay.
spotter position.
So if somebody's shooting diagonally across from another building, you wouldn't see the trace on that.
I wouldn't say it's impossible. It depends on the atmospheric conditions and light conditions as well.
As a sniper, another one of your jobs is to spot targets through your scope for use of other weapons against, correct?
You mean for mortars and rockets? Is that what the question?
Mortars and rockets.
Yes, we'll use our sniper rifles to talk on other weapon systems. Absolutely.
What about a switchblade?
Switchblade? Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you have experience as a sniper talking on a switchblade?
Yes,
onto
sir.
a target? Did you, as a sniper, in fact, get investigated for a switchblade incident that killed a number of civilians?
Yes, sir, I did.
So you know what happens if you see civilians get killed.
Unfortunately, I do, sir.
You know how to report if somebody kills civilians in a combat zone, correct?
Yes, sir.
Because you were, in fact, investigated for the death of civilians, weren't you?
Yes, sir, I was.
You never saw Chief Gallagher shoot that little girl, did you?
No, sir, I did not see Chief Gallagher pull the trigger.
You didn't see where the bullet came from, did you?
No, sir, I did not.
All you saw was a little girl get shot in a manner more consistent with a small caliber bullet. Is that correct?
That is what I saw, sir.
and something that you told Lieutenant Portier, ISIS is shooting civilians, correct?
I told Lieutenant Portier that, yes, sir.
Wasn't until much later that you started saying that it was Chief Gallagher.
No,
Was
sir,
it?
that is not correct.
Well, it wasn't on that day.
To Chief,
To try and blame Chief Gallagher for this?
no, sir, it was that day.
You changed your mind later that day.
Later that day, I got new information about what happened.
You didn't see anything, did you?
Can
You didn't
clarify?
see him shoot at this little girl. did
No,
you?
sir, I did not see Chief Gallagher shoot the little girl.
So, in fact, you once talked about telling the Commodore that you had, didn't you?
I talked about telling the Commodore what I believe happened, yes, sir.
You talked about telling the Commodore you saw him stab the ISIS detainee, didn't you?
I was going to tell him about that incident, yes, sir.
You talked about bluffing to make the Commodore think that you had seen these things, right?
I don't believe so, sir.
During your interview with NCIS, didn't you say, I don't care, I'll go straight to the Commodore. Whatever you need me to sign. I was kind of bluffing because I didn't see him do specifically, I guess, anything. Like stab the prisoner, I was not that day. The girl, I didn't see Eddie pull the trigger or the bullet go out. Is that what you said to NCIS?
Sir, I'd have to review the statements if that is a direct carbon copy, but I could also give you amplifying information on that conversation.
I'm asking whether you told NCIS that you don't care, you'll go straight to the Commodore, whatever you need me to sign. I was kind of bluffing because I didn't see him do specifically, I guess, anything like stab a prisoner. I was not that day. The girl, I didn't see Eddie pull the trigger and the bullet go out. You remember saying that?
I remember saying that I would tell the Commodore, yes, sir. I would do whatever I needed to do. As far as signing something, I would sign whatever I needed to sign to pursue this investigation because it was being held up.
Even though it was a bluff?
As far as me going to the Commodore?
No, no. You going to the Commodore would have been bluffing the Commodore because you didn't see any of this.
No, sir. The bluff was whether or not I would actually go to the Commodore. I knew that my platoon members had seen this. The problem was my platoon members knew that we were going to come under a lot of heat. We had no idea that the heat was going to be as high as it got now. And if you look what the situation is, we can go into that. But really,
Petty Officer Vriens, did you hear my question?
no, sir. Can you go again? Can you restate your question, sir?
All right. Have you ever testified before?
No, sir, I haven't.
Okay. Did you spend any time with these prosecutors preparing to testify here today?
Yes, sir, I did.
Did they explain to you how this procedure works?
Yes, sir, they did.
Did they explain that we ask you questions, you give answers?
Yes, sir.
Did they tell you to pay attention to the question and then just answer the question that's asked?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How much time did you spend with them preparing for today?
Over a series of a year and a half,
Yeah.
including my witness interviews or just
Yes.
trial prep?
Yeah, total. How many hours have you spent helping them prepare to prosecute Eddie Gallagher?
I would say approximately 10 hours.
Well, your first initial interview was over 3 hours, wasn't it?
I believe it was 2.5, sir.
Okay. How many times did you meet with NCIS?
In their office, it must have been 2 or 3 times, plus trial prep, which was another 2 times.
You also texted and called with the NCIS agent frequently, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Joe Warpinski,
Yes, sir.
he shared information with you, you shared information with him?
Yes, sir.
He sent you out to find things?
You'll have to be more specific, sir.
Well, did he tell you to watch Chief Gallagher's house and let him know you saw a moving van?
Yes, sir.
Did you call him from the Seal Future Fund fundraiser?
Yes, sir, I did.
You told him they're auctioning off the murder weapon, didn't you?
No, sir, I did not say those exact words.
What were you said words to the effect of, I see them auctioning off a knife. It looks like they're auctioning off the murder weapon. Whether it's an exact quote or not. Words to that effect, correct?
Words to the effect of this could be the knife, yes, sir.
And then he sent you out to try and get pictures with the knife, right?
Pictures of the knife, yes, sir.
And you told him that this was a half-face blades knife?
Yes, sir, half-face blades.
Because you told him that the knife that Eddie carried on deployment was a half-face blades knife, right?
Yes, sir.
You had them... You told them who won the auction of the knife?
Yes, sir, I did.
You told them who was auctioning off the knife?
Yes, sir, I did.
You had NCIS go on a whole wild goose chase, interviewing all these people and investigating them. Was it the knife?
No, I don't believe it ended up being a knife, sir.
Chief Gallagher's knife even a half-face blades knife?
I believe it was. I never saw it, but he told me he had the knife. He carried the half-face blades knife.
You never saw Chief Gallagher's knife?
I've seen several of his knives. I don't know which one he carried, sir.
So you've seen several of his knives, you see them auctioning off a knife, and you decide to call NCIS and have them investigate the SEAL Future Fund because it's a half-face blade?
No, sir. My intention was not to investigate the SEAL Future Fund.
Well, it was to investigate this knife, where it came from, right?
Yes, sir.
You thought it was so important to call him right from the event, right?
Yes, sir.
And it turned out to be a complete and total waste of time, right?
Depends on your point of view, sir.
My point of view is wasting government resources chasing after something that has nothing to do with this case. You sent NCIS after a nonprofit organization and a retired SEAL who purchased the knife to investigate whether they were auctioning off and purchasing a murder weapon. Didn't you?
Summary, yes, sir.
Okay. You actually receive aid from the SEAL Future Fund, don't you?
I did, yes, sir.
They helped you and that's how you repaid them. By putting them under investigation.
Sir, I could give you more amplifying information if you'd like.
You gave NCIS plenty of amplifying information and they found nothing. Isn't that right?
They did find nothing. Yes, sir. Well, they did find one thing, sir, but it was not related to the case.
They found that they were not auctioning off a murder weapon. Now, you also had somebody go on Facebook group pages so you could take screenshots and send it to NCIS. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Screenshots of the threats.
Threats made by Chief Gallagher?
Made by Chief Gallagher?
Yes.
No, sir.
Okay. Special Agent Warpinski shared with you the updates of his investigation. Is that correct?
For a period of time, sir.
So, and this is early on, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so around September timeframe?
Would have been September, approximately September, December. Yes, sir.
Okay. He told you about the team that went to Iraq, right?
Could you clarify, sir?
He told you about NCIS agents that went to Iraq.
Yes, sir. He did.
He gave you photos that the NCIS agents had taken in Iraq, right?
He sent me a couple photos. Yes, sir.
Okay, and then you shared them with others, right?
You'll have to be more specific, sir.
Did you share NCIS investigative photos with other people? Yes or no? Share them with Chris Shoemaker?
I'm not sure, sir. It was a long time ago.
Share them with Petty Officer Stoner?
Again, sir, I can't recall.
Share them with Andy Dyer?
Absolutely not.
Share anything with the media?
No, sir.
But you did talk to the media.
I did, sir. Yes, sir.
And in fact, in a text message conversation between you and Special Agent Warpinski, he tells you when newspaper articles came out, right?
Was this? Could you give me a time frame, please, sir?
Well, several times he sent you links to newspaper articles. Is that correct?
As This would have been approximately a year ago when we were still texting each other if it happened. I wouldn't be surprised if he did.
And he immediately tells you, check out the Navy Times article, but we didn't put it out, right? Did he do that?
Who are you referring to when you said, but we didn't put it out, sir?
Check Navy Times. We're keeping our mouths shut, FYI.
If that's a text message, sir, then that is what he said.
Okay, and did you respond, I've been playing dumb as well?
I've been playing dumb as well.
Yeah.
I would have to read the article, sir.
No, I'm talking about your text to Special Agent Warpinski.
Sir, if you have copies of my text, and I'm not going to deny something I said, but I can't remember every text I sent, sir. If we could elaborate on maybe the article and what it was about, maybe I can give you some
Sure.
amplifying information.
Sure. Well, did this happen with multiple articles?
Again, sir, there was a lot of communication going on at this time and since, so I couldn't be specific.
You sent Special Agent Warpinski links to fundraisers for Chief Gallagher's defense fund? Is that correct?
I may have. Thank you, sir.
I'm sorry, what's going on here?
He asked if he could read his text messages to refresh his recollection.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. This is regarding,
Hold on just a
sorry.
second.
Yes, sir. Sorry.
So Special Agent Warpinski did text you, check out the Navy Times and say that he's keeping his mouth shut, FYI. Is that correct?
He did text me that, sir.
Okay, and you texted him back that you were playing dumb as well.
I texted him that, sir.
Okay, and this is after he had given you copies of photos taken from an NCIS investigative file, correct?
Yes, sir. He did give me those photos.
Okay. I mean, he didn't just show it to you, he actually gave them to you.
He sent me them. Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, you're an avid follower of Chief Gallagher's wife on social media, aren't you?
I look at it, yes, sir, to get updates on the case.
So, a couple of months ago, she posted a video that had a group picture that your face was in. Is that
No,
correct?
sir. That's not correct.
Objection, relevance.
Members, if we could have just a short 39A, I would appreciate
All
it.
right.
Everyone, please be seated. If I could just get a snapshot so I know what's happening.
Sure. Chief Gallagher's wife posted a video.
Is it okay for him to remain here, or does he need to step out?
Probably easier for him to sit down.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Vriens, if you just step outside that door. Thank you. Go ahead.
Chief Gallagher's wife posted a video online that, in the video with some platoon videos, happened to show half a second of his face. Within an hour, he had his lawyers calling us demanding to have it taken down.
Any objection is relevance, government?
Yes,
Why?
it's not relevant to the charges or to the cross-examination.
All right. Yeah, you'll need to speak up just a little bit. It's getting late, so we're all
Sorry.
quieting down just a little bit.
It's not relevant to the charges or the direct examination.
All right, the court overrules the objection. I find it relevant to the bias of the witness. So we're ready to bring the witness back in?
Yes.
Okay. Would you ask him to rejoin us? Professor Vriens, if you'd return to your seat at the witness stand, thank you. Both sides ready to recall the members, government?
Yes, sir.
Defense?
Yes.
Mr. Palatori, at some opportunity, could we get a picture of the bullet attached to the record as an appellate exhibit?
I brought two if you want to keep one.
Don't think we want to put it on the record then. Just a
Hard to
picture will
photocopy.
do.
But they are inert. I had Mr. Rios check them out.
And then once that's marked with an appellate exhibit, let me know so I
May I
can.
just approach with it, or you want a photo of
No,
it?
just a photo of it
Okay.
attached to the record.
We'll do it next to a quarter so you can see the size?
Whatever you need to do.
Okay.
All right.
Everyone, please be seated. Members, I overruled the objection. You may proceed.
Chief Gallagher's wife posted a video which had several platoon clips in it, one of which showed your face for about half a second. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Within an hour, you had your attorney calling, begging to have it taken down. Isn't that correct?
I don't believe begging would be an accurate term, but he did ask for them to take it down, sir.
You had your attorney call Chief Gallagher to ask for a favor right before you were going to testify against him in a murder trial.
That was not a favor, sir.
Was there, what was it, if not a favor?
Sir, I didn't want to be used to fundraise for Chief Gallagher, which is exactly what that video was being used for. It was a trailer clip for a video that was supposed to be released according to Mrs. Gallagher's Instagram.
Was this a demand that it be removed for some legal reason?
I wanted to know if there was any
The
kind
question, I'm sorry. Again, you went over this with them before. Listen to the questions I ask and just answer the questions I'm asking.
Yes, sir. Apologize.
Okay, so, is there a legal basis that you had to ask for this video to be removed? Yes or no?
No.
Objection calls for a legal conclusion.
Sustained.
Did you have any basis to ask for this to be removed other than, I don't want it up, can you please do me a favor and take it down?
No.
So you asked Chief Gallagher for a favor a month before you were going to testify against him. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. Now, you told the story to this jury earlier on direct, a very vivid story about walking in and seeing a photo and Chief Gallagher saying, yeah, I stabbed him in the side and pulled him up by his hair and stuck him in the neck. Remember that story, the very theatrical story you told this jury?
Yes, sir. I remember the story.
Okay, do you remember when you were asked by NCIS at your initial interview about this?
No, sir. That was some time ago.
Okay. You understood when you spoke to NCIS that you were supposed to tell the truth, right?
Yes, sir.
Were you asked this question and did you give this answer? Question, did you hear him say anything about it? Answer, he something like, yeah, the medics were treating him, so I fucking took out my knife and stabbed him. I don't remember where. Answer, okay. Or question, okay. Answer, I don't remember. Chest or neck or whatever. For some reason, both chest and neck are ringing a bell.
If
Do you
that-
remember the NCIS agent asking you those questions, you giving those answers?
I don't, sir.
Would it refresh your recollection if I showed you a transcript of that?
It could, sir.
Handing you page from the transcript, it's right in the middle of the page.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Does that refresh your recollection?
Yes, sir.
So at the time, back in April of 2018, you told NCIS, yeah, the medics were treating him, so I fucking took out my knife and stabbed him. I don't remember where. I don't remember, chest or neck or whatever. For some reason, both chest and neck are ringing a bell. Is that what you told NCIS at the time?
Yes, sir, that's what I said.
You've told this jury a much more vivid and theatrical story than you told NCIS over a year ago.
Yes, sir.
Is this because you reviewed things in your mind?
Exactly.
You've told other members of your platoon that NCIS is your attorney. Is that correct?
At the time, yes, sir.
Okay? Soon after returning from deployment, you were added to a group text called the Sewing Circle. Do you remember that?
Yes, sir.
And in that group, you were talking about everybody getting together to go to the Master Chief to make complaints about Eddie Gallagher. Is that correct?
I don't remember specifically the Master Chief, but yes, coming forward.
You remember Dalton Tolbert saying to you, we are planning, I think at this point, to go Monday to see the Master Chief. Remember that?
Yes, sir.
You remember responding, ha, I'm down.
Was there more to that text, sir?
Yes, he used me as bait. I DJAF.
Yes, sir, I remember that text.
DJAF, that means I don't give a fuck.
Yes, sir.
A lot more text messages. A lot more, actually. You remember texting the group about Craig has done some good work,
Yes, sir.
about the Diablo situation.
Yes, sir.
You were excited that they were going to pull Chief Gallagher from South. Is that correct?
I would say yes, sir.
There's also a lot more recent text messages. Like we said earlier, you're a pretty avid follower of all the news coverage of this case, correct?
Yes, sir.
At one point, you said to the group, I can't help but shake my head when Marcus Luttrell calls people cowards. He's got more of an imagination than J.R. Tolkien. Did you say that to the group?
Yes, sir, I did.
That's because Marcus Luttrell had called you a coward on TV. Is that correct?
That is not the reason why I said that, sir.
Is that because you think Marcus Luttrell is a coward?
I don't know him personally, sir.
Is that because you think Marcus Luttrell is a liar?
Sir, if I could...
No, I'm asking you a very simple question. Do you think Marcus Luttrell is a liar?
Yes, sir.
And just so that everybody's on the same page, Marcus Luttrell is the lone survivor. Is that correct? No, it's a leading question. It's cross-examination.
Sorry, hold on. Let's keep, I know it's late in the day, but let's keep conversations through me, please. The objection was to leading, to,
No,
what was the objection?
that the attorney was testifying.
All right. It started off that way, so I will overrule the objection, but if you could rephrase the question to make sure we're firmly into leading territory.
Sure. Marcus Luttrell is somebody well known in your community. Is that correct?
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
And he was a Navy SEAL in Afghanistan back in 2005.
I would say in the early 2000s, yes, sir.
Okay, he was part of the Operation Red Wings.
Yes, sir.
Everybody in his team was killed except for him.
Yes, sir.
You had several conversations with the other witnesses about this trial, didn't you?
I had conversations with other witnesses about this trial, yes, sir.
About what each of you intended to testify to?
I can't recall that, sir.
Did you have conversations where you wanted to motivate each other for this trial?
Sir, are you referring to telling the truth?
No, I'm saying damn straight. Everyone talks tough when they're shadow boxing, but the shadow never hits back. They're in for a rude awakening when we finally get our time in the ring. Did
No,
you say that to everybody about your testimony here?
No, sir, that was not about my testimony, sir.
That was about this trial?
That had to do with people not directly involved with the trial.
So, your time in the ring, when they're in for a rude awakening when we finally get our time in the ring, your statement is that that's about this trial, but it's not about you coming to testify in the trial?
Sir, the people I'm speaking about in that text,
Hold on.
yes,
Do you
sir.
understand the question?
No, sir, I do not.
Okay. Right before that, T.C. Burns says, guys take pride in the fact that all of us earned our bird. We're not the victims. We're fucking team guys. Never forget that. I really feel for these people who talk to the media about frogmen who are malcontents, afraid to be pushed, and speak as if they were on deployment with us. These lawyers and people speaking out have never worn a trident or been downrange. That shit is going to get weirder but we have each other. That's what you responded to, right?
That was TC's comment?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
To which you responded, damn straight. Everyone talks tough when they're shadow boxing, but the shadow never hits back. They're in for a rude awakening when we finally get our time in the ring. Is that correct?
I did say that, yes, sir.
Okay, out of curiosity, that lawyers and people speaking out, are you talking about me?
You may have been involved with that, yes, sir.
Okay, is your time in the ring your conversation with me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we're in for a rude awakening when you finally get your time in the ring. That is about what you and I are doing right now, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay? You consider this to be somewhat of a battle back and forth between us? Shadow boxing? Or
Right now, that's how it comes off, sir.
what's that?
That's how it comes off, sir.
It does, doesn't it?
Yes, sir.
Dalton Tolbert texting the group just last week, everybody getting their game faces on, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's to prepare for your time in the ring with me.
Yes, sir.
Because you want to make sure that you win this trial, right?
That the truth comes out, sir.
You want to make sure that...
That I win this trial, sir?
Yes, that was the question.
This
Do you
trial is
feel-
about me, sir.
Do you feel like you are on a side here?
Yes, sir.
No further questions.
Redirect?
My colleague on the defense read, we are planning, I think at this point, to go Monday to Master Chief. The rest of it is, Eddie is making some pretty threatening ... threats. Is that how you recall it?
Yes, sir.
What was the situation why you had to bluff to someone that you would go to the Commodore?
This conversation took place in anywhere between January and April of 2018. We got back from deployment in September 2017. The incidences that we're talking about happened in May, June of 2017. I told my OIC, Lieutenant Portier, in May, June, I take that back, it would have been July or August of 2017, and nothing had been done during this entire time, and we were being stonewalled. So yes, sir, I was going to go to the Commodore because I didn't know the proper reporting procedures for something like this, and it didn't seem like people wanted to hear it.
One more question.
Cross?
You wanted to go to the Commodore on something you hadn't even seen.
Yes,
Right.
sir.
Wouldn't it be better to have the people that did see it go to the Commodore?
Yes, sir, it would have.
So, let me ask you this. You've told these prosecutors, and prosecutors before them, a lot of stories, right? Did
Yes,
you
sir.
once tell them that Chief Gallagher was stalking you?
I did not say he was stalking me.
Did you say you felt like he was stalking you?
Yes, sir.
You felt like he was going past your house?
Yes,
Right.
sir, he was.
He lives down the block from you, right?
Yes, sir, he did.
So when he would go home, you would call up the prosecutors and say, I feel like he's stalking me because he went past my house? Really?
No, sir, if you'd like amplifying information.
No, I'm asking you. Did you call the prosecutors and NCIS or even write them a letter saying, I feel like he's stalking me because he went past my house?
I don't believe I used stalking, sir, but I did write them a letter, if that's a question, yes, sir.
In that letter, you emailed to Joe Warpinski.
If that's the email traffic, yes, sir, I'm not sure who I emailed.
And you did that with the specific intent of ensuring that Eddie Gallagher got sent to jail instead of being allowed out before trial. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Do you have a concealed carry permit?
No, sir, I do not.
Did you ask Special Agent Warpinski to get you a concealed carry permit?
I did not ask him to, no,
Have
sir.
you ever spoken to Chief Miller about getting a concealed carry permit?
Not through him, sir.
Are you aware whether Chief Miller used this case to get himself a concealed carry permit?
He was offered a concealed carry permit because he's involved with the case, yes, sir.
Were you offered a concealed carry permit
Yes, sir, I was.
by Special Agent Warpinski?
No, sir. Captain McMahon, sir.
Captain McMahon offered you a concealed carry permit.
He informed us that the San Diego sheriff was willing to give us concealed carry permits because of this case.
And this was in April?
No, sir, this was just a few months ago.
It's the end of June. It's a few months ago.
Oh, April, yes, sir, 2019, yes, sir.
No further questions.
Redirect?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Members, are there any questions for this witness? That's a negative response from all members. Government, is this witness subject to recall?
Yes, sir.
Petty Officer Vriens, you are temporarily excused. During the pendency of this trial, you're not to discuss your testimony with anyone other than the counsel in this room. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you may step down.